Good morning. I'm Denise Biddell and I'm the Public Policy Manager at Logistics UK, and I welcome you to today's webinar from Bridgestone and Webfleet, the Road to a Safe and Sustainable Future. In our third and final decarbonisation webinar, we want to take this opportunity to host a panel discussion to share expert insights into how you focus on creating a safe and sustainable future for your business. So we are going to be joined by a range of guest speakers who are covering several topics, including improving driver safety with machine vision, artificial intelligence, innovations in tyre technology, and regreening landscapes in sub-Saharan Africa. So I would like to just make introductions in a moment, but first of all, I'd like to look at the next slide, which is just covering housekeeping. And the next slide, please. So all delegates' microphones are to be muted throughout the event. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing to everyone that's registered. And if you have any questions, please use the Q&A facility on your web dashboard. We'll try to get through as many questions as we can. Any that we don't, we will definitely get back to you directly. Next slide, please. So today's speakers are Michael Parker, who is the BSNOR Head of Sustainability Committee at Bridgestone UK, and Stephen Lewis, Webfleet Corporate Sales Manager at UKI for Bridgestone Mobility Services, Simon Dix, who's the Insurance Channel Manager, EMEA at Lytics, and Selma Lure, Corporate Social Responsibility Manager at Bridgestone's Mobility Services Solutions. So I'd actually like to bring in Michael and just ask you to introduce yourself.
Hi there, everybody. My name's Michael Parker. I'm the Quality Environmental Health and Safety Coordinator for BSNOR region for Bridgestone, working directly for Bridgestone, and currently taken over the Head of Sustainability Committee for Bridgestone.
And can I bring in Selma, please?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Selma Lure. I'm the Corporate Social Responsibility Manager at Bridgestone Mobility Solutions. I'm very passionate about our mission to move the world towards a sustainable future with data-driven mobility solutions. So thank you for having me today.
Okay, and next I'd like to bring in Simon Dix, please. Well, I think your microphone's still off, Simon.
God, 2 years of doing web calls and it still gets me.
The bingo cards are being filled in.
Indeed. Good morning, everybody. I'm Simon Dix and I work for Lytics, and my role is to work with insurance companies and partners across Europe, where we specialise at preventing incidents and helping drivers remain safe on the roads. I've worked for Lytics for a number of years and been working in the insurance industry for 20 years and a shared passion on sustainability and safety. I'm very much looking forward today to talking about how both of them merge.
And completing the panel lineup is Stephen Lewis. Can I bring you in now, Stephen, please?
Hi, good morning there. Stephen Lewis, Webfleet Corporate Sales Manager. So I work with some of our big fleets here in UK and Ireland, working with drivers and their vehicles to make them safe and efficient out on the road.
Excellent. Can we have the next slide, please? And the next slide after that. So we've got a question, which I shall put to you all. What is your organisation doing to become more sustainable? Perhaps I can come to you, Michael, first.
Yeah, I mean, with Bridgestone being a large organisation, a global organisation, obviously we have plenty of targets and objectives that we need to achieve. We're looking at recyclable and renewable materials. We're looking at reducing our total CO2 emissions. We're looking at by 2050 to utilise 100% sustainable materials, considering what goes into the actual manufacture of a tyre. It's not just black and it's not just rubber, there's other components that goes into a tyre. And part of what Bridgestone came out with around 1st of March this year was our E8 commitment. And a lot of this is around sustainability as a business and what we can do to not just help ourselves, but also our customers, and also working with Webfleet Solutions around sustainability and what we can do as an organisation. We just released our sustainability and E8 combined report this year, which is open to anybody to actually view. But this is a main drive from Bridgestone around this E8 commitment. It's not only for our people who work for Bridgestone, but everybody that we work with around the Bridgestone network.
Excellent. I'd like to bring in Selma at this point, because I think you've got, you want to talk to us about some initiatives across your various offices, just Digit Renewable Energy Initiative, reducing plastic concerns. So over to you, Selma.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so on our journey to become net zero, we're launching different initiatives to lower our own carbon footprint. So since May 2018, we started a partnership with Digit, which helps us to offset the carbon emissions from our supply chain and facilities. And to date, we have invested in regreening 4,370 hectares of land in Tanzania, which is actually an area 5 times bigger than the center of Amsterdam, which helps us to positively impact climate, nature, and people. And Just Digit is a Dutch NGO and partner of the UN Environment Programme. It's focused on landscape restoration through the regreening of dry lands in Africa, empowering millions of farmers. So let me show you a quick video about our partnership.
Climate change, droughts, and desertification are turning huge areas into dry, degraded lands. This results in failed harvests, lack of food and water, poverty, instability, and climate refugees. So what can we do? Restoring nature is proven to be highly effective and scalable. In fact, nature-based solutions represent 37% of the solution to climate change. So that's what Just Digit is doing. Regreening dry lands at scale, positively impacting climate, nature, and people. Contributing to 8 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Just Digit's main techniques include rainwater harvesting, which reduces water runoff by 80%, capturing billions of liters of rainwater, and farmer-managed natural regeneration, or FMNR, an agroforestry method which empowers farmers to restore millions of native trees on their lands. These proven regreening techniques positively impact livelihoods and can be replicated and scaled throughout sub-Saharan Africa. To bring our story to the world, we've built several strong global partnerships with the United Nations Environment Programme, World Economic Forum's 1T.org, AFR 100, JC Havas Group, and many others. We are building new coalitions with global brands and corporates, offering various impact solutions. For instance, regreening a dedicated area in Africa related to a specific size and landmark. In Tanzania, we are regreening an area 4 times the size of Amsterdam Center with our partner Webfleet Solutions, a Bridgestone company.
Well, that was really interesting. So,
Thank you. I just wanted to highlight that besides this partnership that we have with Just Digit, we're also committed to green power. So we're running our data centers on 100% renewable energy and our offices where possible. Besides that, we're working on reducing plastic in all of our products. And we're continuously looking at additional initiatives, like we just recently promoted our employees to take a train, so offering a first-class ticket instead of a plane for business trips between different European cities.
Thank you, Selma. Simon, can I bring you in at this point?
Yes, yes, of course. And it's great to see organisations, what we're all trying to do in this world. And here at Lytics, we are really looking at our supply chain and how we can reduce the impact of what we create from our devices across the globe. So as an example, rather than the devices come from our factory, then come to Lytics, and then go to our partners, and then they go to our customers, we're looking at ways that we can really get the devices being shipped directly from factory to partner. So therefore, that's reducing tons of CO2 from shipments across the world, from planes across the world, and that's a significant initiative for Lytics globally. When we look at the devices that we've got, we have over 850,000 connected devices globally. So that's a lot of components, a lot of moving parts. And as technology evolves and innovation happens, we recycle our parts. So we get the devices back and we upcycle. So it's incredibly important that we can use or reuse devices that we've manufactured previously. And then finally, on the sales front, we no longer give away sort of bottles or bottles or squeegee balls or anything at shows we go to. So now we are just there. We have QR codes that enable our partners and customers to scan ourselves as business cards. So we really are looking at each and every way that we can reduce our footprint, as everything we do greatly helps the overall objectives of the world.
Yes, sometimes it's the smallest things that can make the biggest difference, isn't it, Simon?
It is. And I think, yeah, just looking at all of those different verticals within a business, we're all doing that and making a contribution, both business-wise and consumer-wise, personally, then we can make a difference. So it's looking differently outside of the box sometimes.
Definitely. Perhaps we could go on to the next question, please. So, for the panel, how can your organisation help truck and van operators to become more sustainable? I'm actually going to bring Selma back in at this point. Would you like to take that question first?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I think I would like to start off with a video that shows you how sustainability is at the core of everything we do.
Today it feels more important than ever to run a sustainable business. But sometimes it can seem like protecting our ecosystem doesn't fit in with our other business goals. How do you run an environmentally friendly business while also keeping your costs under control, your vehicles on the road, and your working processes as efficient as possible? At Webfleet Solutions, we do not believe these are separate objectives. We believe what is good for business and what is good for the planet can be the same thing. The same thing that reduces your carbon footprint can also increase productivity. The same thing that cuts your emissions can also cut your running costs. And the same thing that boosts sustainability can also boost profits. We believe it's all connected because we provide the platform that connects it all. So let's drive productivity, let's drive cost control, and let's drive sustainability. Let's drive business further.
Okay, so this video actually shows you that we help our customers on their journey to become more sustainable with our products. So I just wanted to highlight 3 of them. So one is our EV solutions. So our EV solutions help businesses add EVs to their fleet efficiently. Besides that, we have our Green Your Fleet platform, which enables our customers to estimate their yearly fleet CO2 emissions and offset their carbon emissions by regreening dry lands in Africa via our existing partnership with Just Dig It. And thirdly, we have Webfleet's tire pressure management system, which detects under or overinflated tires. This ensures better fuel efficiency and less CO2 emissions, And of course, it's also key to ensure road safety.
That's excellent. Can I bring you, Stephen, in? Because we haven't actually heard from you at this point.
Yeah, no worries, I'm still here, don't worry. Yeah, I think if you just go to the next slide, please. So yeah, so we've spoken a lot about Webfleet Solutions and what we do, and this is actually a screenshot from Webfleet, our platform. So telematics is all about data. We're connected to the vehicles, we're connected to the driver, and we're gathering lots of data back. But it's only useful data if we can actually present it in a way which allows our fleet operators and our customers to make some key decisions on what they're doing. So this is an example of a dashboard that a customer might use just to show highlight areas of red, highlight areas of green and amber and yellow where decisions can be made. And this can be anything from just general fuel consumption, how are our drivers performing, but also efficient routing. Are our vehicles getting from A to B as quickly as possible? Do we have the right number of vehicles? We see it all the time where our customers have too many or not enough, and they could do more work than they are, or they can get rid of a few vehicles in their fleet, which obviously helps with their CO2. Are the vehicles the right size? Are we maximising what we have? We have a driver, we have a vehicle. Can we give the driver a bigger vehicle to reduce the number of vehicles on the road, or can we give them a smaller, efficient vehicle than they have and do the same job? What about the vehicle health? Obviously, again, we're connected into the vehicle. We're not just getting the position of the vehicle, we're connected into the vehicle's ECU. So is the vehicle healthy? Is it running as efficiently as it can be? Is it serviced? And therefore using the least amount of fuel? And these are all things that we provide our customers to make those decisions. And they help them reduce costs, but reducing costs also reduces their CO2 emissions.
Well, it's good news that we can actually keep the costs down as well, because actually it's the bottom line that keeps us all in business doing all these wonderful things.
Exactly, and that's what that video said. You know, we need to link those two things together, and if we can, then it makes everybody want to achieve that goal.
Yes, absolutely. One of the key topics of today's webinar is about tyres. So at this point, I'd quite like to bring in Michael, please. Can you tell us a little bit about your tyres strategy?
Yeah, I mean, it all goes down from the actual manufacturing process, so right from the beginning. And with Bridgestone ourselves, we start to do like a virtual development of tyres. So, you know, we've saved, you know, the manufactured 200 prototype tyres. We've saved 40,000 kilometres on physical testing of a tyre. And we've also reduced 60% of raw materials and CO2 emissions. And this is just from the testing phase of a actual tyre that we manufacture. Then we've got like the research department with Bridgestone. We've got a new place that Bridgestone have created in Tokyo, which is a new testing centre. And then working with EV companies around EV trucks, EV vans, looking at what tyres that we've currently got on the market, looking at the end of life of a tyre, because it's not just about, yes, just put the tyre on, it's what happens after the tyre has been used, and what can we do and what can we help with regarding the disposal of the tyre, or what we can do. I mean, we've got retread, which is the retread of a commercial tyre. So basically it's a large recycling centre where we'll put another piece of rubber around the rim and the tyre, so that can actually go back onto the market. And then we've got our own products like Enlighten, which is our new Enlighten range, which is for EV vehicles, which it reduces rolling resistance by up to about 30%, weight reduction by up to 20%, and 2 kilograms fewer raw materials. So, you know, it helps with fuel consumption, it helps with CO2 emissions. So we're looking at the current market of producing what tyres fit in with the current market and future markets, especially around electric vehicles.
Well, that's really good news that you're talking to the manufacturers as well, because you know, we're building new vehicles from the base upwards. It's good to know that the other peripherals are going to also be designed with them in mind as well. Simon, can I bring you in now? Because above all else, you know, we're talking tyres here. The first thing that springs to mind with tyres isn't always cost, it's safety. It's a safety feature, and I just wondered what your views on the safety side of things are.
Sure. Well, we look at safety and sustainability perhaps in a different way. If we could have the next slide, please. We should be able to have a look at sort of our positioning on this. So when we talk about sustainability, our way of thinking is perhaps the first thing we need to be sustainable about is the driver who's driving the vehicle. So we need to sustain human life, and actually an impact of helping drivers themselves is then an impact on fuel and of associated costs. So if we think about having an incident, so we're out driving, we may have a 44-ton vehicle, and unfortunately an incident occurs. Now at that point we have emergency response vehicles that have to attend the site. They're creating CO2. The vehicle, our vehicle that's been involved in that incident, then needs to be repaired. So there's damage to that vehicle. That creates additional manufacturing, that creates more CO2. And drivers are injured. So that can be a serious injury or a fatality. So actually the safety aspect of what we do is incredibly important. And if we go through to the next click of the slide here, please, we'll then start to look at some indirect costs out of having an incident. And the image on the left is meant to look at an iceberg, but some people think it's a 99 flake ice cream, but without the flake. So essentially what we're trying to show here is the hidden costs of having an incident. So replacement vehicles, that can take 9 months, 12 months or longer. Vehicle repairs and replacement parts. This is all manufacturing that actually could not need to be done if we're preventing an incident from happening in the first place. So preventing an incident can come from both technology that we're producing, the tyres which are coming from Bridgestone that have got advanced technology in, and the data that's being generated from the Webfleet platform. So prevention of an incident has huge impacts on the prevention of CO2 and becoming more sustainable.
All very important. So thank you for that. That's great. We do need to keep an eye on that safety side of stuff. It's got to be a priority. But there's a lot of companies out there. If we go on to the next slide, please, with our next question, that are actually just wondering about how the costs in the current economic climate. So how do van and truck operators keep the focus on reducing carbon emissions in the current climate of spiraling inflation and fuel costs? Michael, can I bring you in here? You've got some views on that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, obviously, with the government at the moment putting pressure on all businesses to try and reach their targets of carbon neutral, and with the spiraling costs of fuel, there is a lot of pressure on van and truck operators. And with Bridgestone and its products, as I've mentioned, and what we're looking at and working in partnership with manufacturers around, what can we, best produce for the manufacturer. And then that's also working with Webfleet themselves. They've got a lot of knowledge around different areas where they can help the tyre, the van and truck operators themselves. And then Bridgestone, we've released what we've called our Fleet Care, which is like a one-stop shop, full package that can help the van and truck operators. It was launched, last month almost in June, and it uses, Bridgestone premium tyres, full tyre management solutions, working with Webfleet, who are Europe's #1 Webfleet management solution company. So it's working with a lot of organisations to give the benefit back to the van and truck operators to help them achieve their targets in carbon emissions.
Excellent. But I mean, at the heart of running good operations for vans and trucks is you need to make sure that they're efficient. So Stephen, have you got any thoughts about how you can help with that controlled fleet performance?
Yeah, well, I think to go back to the question around the initial question, these two things are linked. You know, the cost of running a fleet and CO2 emissions, in our opinion, is completely linked together. And we've talked to our customers every day, and it seemed to be two separate conversations. We just need to bring those conversations together, because when we're working with fleets to be more efficient, whether that's, as I said before, reducing fuel, reducing wear and tear on the vehicle, we see it in the bottom line. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reduce that bottom line and reduce costs and put more money back into the business. But when we're having those conversations and working with those customers to reduce those costs, in turn, we are reducing the CO2 emissions. If we can keep the vehicle on the road longer, if we can reduce the wear and tear on the vehicle, then we're reducing the CO2 emissions that vehicle is producing. And we just need to bring those conversations together and not have them separate within our customers and within the businesses.
You can have all the right equipment and all the right systems in place, but at the very sharp end, you've got the driver. Simon, perhaps you can come in here. What's the driver's role in all of this?
Sure, the driver is the significant person who is essentially, keeping the operation of the business going. So they're the most important person inside of that vehicle that we need to remain safe. And in today's world, the distractions that occur frequently and so often isn't useful. So we can help the drivers become more accountable for their behaviours. And it's critically important that when a driver is distracted, that before an event happens, great to see my dogs are getting involved in the discussion in the background there, talking about distractions. That was perfect timing, wasn't it? So when the drivers are driving, without any G-force triggers, a driver can still be distracted. So before a driver needed to harsh brake, and then that would create a big force to stop, we have the ability to prevent that in the first place. So we have to provide data to enable businesses to understand who are the drivers perhaps who need some help and education around how they can drive safer, because if they drive safer, to Stevie's point, that makes them more sustainable because less CO2 is generated. So we're harvesting data to ensure that we can help fleets.
I think the driver's role here is crucial in actually accepting the changes to their fleet away from the more conventional vehicles as well. We've heard from members who've always advised that if you're going to start that decarbonisation journey, you need to actually get some drivers on board that are your champions as well, so that are really supportive, because somebody that's sort of sitting in the corner going, I don't like these newfangled things, could actually put quite a difficult spin on what you're trying to achieve. So I think get your drivers involved at an earliest stage possible.
Yes, I will just add something in there, sort of devices that we use quite often, and we'll get stuck into this as we go forward, can be deemed as big brother watching. However, if they're implemented in exactly the right way as a driver safety tool, we've seen in one of our largest fleets across the globe, actually the drivers compete against each other to have the safest dashboards and reports. And I'm talking about perhaps one event in about 100,000 miles. And so this is what we want to get. No matter the size of the fleet, actually having technology to enable a safer fleet and drivers to utilize it to become safer is exactly where we need to get to. So you're dead right there, Denise.
Well, I've been resisting the football analogy. You can have all these amazing systems, but like a football team, the manager can give you the best pep talk before you go on the field, but the moment you're there, it's you kicking the ball. Not that I haven't been watching the ladies' football on the Euros, but there you go, wonderful matches. Perhaps we can go on to the next question, please. So I think we touched on that a little bit with Simon's comments, but we'd like to now move into how technology can assist in improving that driver safety and how this is inherently linked to cutting carbon emissions. Can you explain from your experience how the two are linked? And perhaps, Stephen, I'll bring you in for your thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. I think this goes on from Simon's point, as you said. I think we have technology. We can give technology to drivers to help them. In an ideal world, we'd be sat next to the driver all day telling them how we want them to drive the vehicle, but it's just not possible. But technology can help us there. So we have in Webfleet our OptiDrive 360 module, which is a driver scoring system. And as I said, we need to promote this and be positive. So from Simon's point, we need to position this as a competition for drivers to be the best, and we want drivers to be the best. But we also have our driver feedback tool, which is giving drivers feedback in the moment about their driving, whether that's through a visual representation of exactly what they need to do or what they have done wrong or what they need to do better, whether it's reducing speeding if they're speeding, whether it's just advice that you can lift and coast now, take your foot off the accelerator and let the vehicle coast to a stop, because that's more efficient. If we do that, we're not actually using any fuel. And this will become more important, especially as we transition to EV, because they need to be driven differently. And we need to help drivers and support drivers in that transition. And we just needed to be positive with it. I think historically it was seen as relatively negative that we could actually get drivers at the bottom, and we need to work with those drivers, but we also need to move to the point where we can reward drivers for being the best. And technology can help us there by supporting them.
And of course, driving an EV, you don't need a heavy foot, or else your battery range tends to diminish rapidly. So I think that can also help as well with driver safety and better behaviours, just simply because, again, the technology of the electric vehicle can help there. There's also comments I've heard from van drivers, particularly where they've moved over to EVs. And the one aspect that they will all tell you they love is the fact that they haven't got a gearbox to bother about. They're just like an automatic. They stop and they start, or like a go-kart, as one has described it. So it's just less things to do, which again is another example of technology helping us. Mm-hmm. Simon, perhaps I can bring you in again here, because I think you've got some thoughts on the artificial intelligence side of things.
Sure, thanks Denise. Yes, and I'll sort of dive into a little bit the detail of it now. But so here at Lytics, our ethos is that no commercial driver is ever at fault of an incident. And then when we look at incidents across the world, and specifically the UK, over 80% of incidents are caused because of distracted driving. And then when we look at the incidents that are caused, unfortunately 2,000 people approximately each year lose their lives, and over 27,000 people are seriously injured. So working with Webfleet, our device has been integrated into their platform known as the CAM50, and specifically we use a proactive technology. It's called machine vision and artificial intelligence, and how it works is the machine vision takes a picture, it's taking constant pictures, and the artificial intelligence is then assessing the risk of that picture. So for example, if a driver is looking down at the lap, we have seen millions of times before that that's a mobile phone alert. So the machine will identify it, the artificial intelligence will then confirm the probability of risk, and it will then alert the driver to their distraction. Now critically here, there's no management intervention. This is happening in real time. So we've got the ability to change human behavior without any management intervention. And the other distractions that the machine vision and artificial intelligence can pick it up on is drivers who are smoking, perhaps drivers who don't have a seatbelt on, are eating or drinking, generally distracted and looking fatigued. So it's a very proactive way of identifying distractions. We classify it as a proactive first notification of risk. So we'll all be aware of first notification of loss. You know, the incident's already happened, costs have already acquired. But now with machine vision and artificial intelligence, we've got the ability to prevent the incident and save lives and serious incidents from occurring. We've got a short video, which I'd like to sort of just play through now. And it really shows the first notification of risk solution working, and when machine vision and artificial intelligence really works in real time, as I said, with no management intervention.
Driver distraction is the leading cause of up to 80% of incidents on the road. Driver number 1 is using their mobile phone and is distracted from the road ahead. The distraction continues, and as they approach a set of traffic lights, they fail to notice the lights change to red. Driver number 1 is unable to stop in time and rear-ends the vehicle in front. With lytics technology, you can enable the driver to self-correct their risky driving behaviours in the moment and empower the driver to make good decisions while on the road.
So when the distraction's alerted, the device pings to the driver, and that gets the driver's attention back on the road. So it's a very innovative technology, very proactive, and of course, looking at the safety of the driver.
Excellent. I think we could all do with those nudges occasionally. Can the drivers disable them though? Once it's in there?
Good question, Denise. They've got a tamper-proof case on, so that prevents the drivers from getting in. Of course, if a driver took a mallet to the camera and knocked it off the screen, we can't stop that. But critically, if lenses are covered, cover alarms go to the business, so the business can very quickly see if a device has been tampered with. And it goes back to my sort of previous point about when technology is introduced to a business. It's introducing it to the directors, and then that key point about how are you introducing it to the drivers. So, for example, if a driver is driving and the machine vision artificial intelligence identifies a mobile phone distraction, should that driver at that point put the phone down, get their eyes back on the road and drive correctly, then no data has gone to the platform. However, if that driver does not change behaviour, that's when video and images then go to the platform to allow for risk management.
Right. Well, I think lots and lots of questions. I would actually, just before we go on to hear what Michael's got to say about innovations in tyre technology, is just remind everybody that if you've got any questions here, to post them into the Q&A panel, and we will come to them towards the end in the Q&A session. And there will be a chance for the video to stay live a little bit longer so that people can download the 4 handouts that are also in that panel. So Michael, can I bring you on to talk about how tyre technology can help improve driver safety?
Yeah, I mean, if you look over, this week, for instance, you've got, one of the hottest days ever recorded in the UK, and then 2 days later, it's chucking down the rain. So, for Bridgestone, we have to take this into consideration, the weather conditions. It's great, with Webfleet solutions, you have that key indicator, you need to brake, but obviously if you're driving in different weather conditions, then the tyre does have an impact. So this is where Bridgestone comes in with its different designs. As I mentioned, Bridgestone have got a brand new innovation park in Tokyo, which is working with different manufacturers of their vehicles, EV vehicles, the tyre. We're looking at different shapes, different sizes of tyres that will also help the drivers in their safety, their day-to-day driving, because we want to, the drivers that and the fleet companies that use our product, we want to make sure that their drivers are safe when they're driving the vehicles. We want to give them a good product. So a lot of testing does go into tyres, and now we can do it virtually, which also helps us regarding sustainability. And then, as I mentioned, we've got our Enlighten product range, which is for EV vehicles. We've got our NanoPro technology, which is a compound technology that binds the tyre's rubber molecules with silica to offer great durability and extended wear life. And then also we've got the Texan technology, which again extends the desired tyre life, will be up to 30%. It's a reduction in raw material consumption, less tyre wear, which is good for obviously the English roads, they're not the best, improve fuel efficiency, and reduce overall CO2 emissions. So yes, it might be a circular black rubber thing on a vehicle, but it does so much regarding the safety and in the braking distance, and also in wet conditions, and then going straight into really hot, dry, humid conditions. So a lot of testing is done on our product to make it the best for our fleet business.
Well, I'm somebody that's been driving probably far too long than I'd care to remember. I've even got grandfather rights still on my license, but I've always marveled at just how much advancement there has been in tyre technology, because I can remember some quite scary incidents back in the day, several decades ago. And you're right, the roads in the UK are very, very difficult terrain at times. I've got friends and relatives that come over from other parts of continental Europe, and their first comment is usually not just the British weather, it's always about the state of our roads and how on earth do we cope. So it's good to know that you're looking out for that. Let me just bring everybody on to a final question, and that's, if you were speaking to a van or truck operator today, which one key takeaway would you give them to have the biggest impact on helping their journey to a safe and sustainable future? Selma, can I bring you in, because we've heard a lot from the other guys on the call, and I'd just like to sort of have your take on this.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as a first step, I believe it's very important to be aware of your current carbon footprint. So basically understand your scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. And then you can look at ways how you can reduce them in your daily businesses. So yeah, as you've heard in this webinar, we have a lot of experts. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us so we can help you and your business on the journey to a safer and more sustainable future.
Who would next like to come in? Perhaps I can bring Stephen in next on that question.
Yeah, no problem. I think if I was talking to a fleet today, I think I would tell them that they can start today. I think there's a lot of, with the supply chain issues we're going through in the world, there's a lot, you don't have to wait for EVs to be delivered into your fleet to start reducing your CO2 emissions in your fleet. I don't think any business out there could be honest with themselves to say they're maximizing the fleet that they have, or they're getting the most fuel efficiency out of their fleet. I think the data and the technology is there to help them really make those vehicles they have currently more efficient. And I think they could start today. And that's my real challenge to them, to look at themselves and really be honest with themselves about what they're doing and can they get more out of their current fleet.
Michael, can I bring you in next?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking to fleet operators today, it'd be making sure they've got the right product on their vehicles, especially when you're talking like fleet management and you've got, a fleet organisation maybe on the truck that might have 6 different makes of tyre on their vehicle. It does have an impact, and it's getting across to the fleet management team of the company to say, look, it's best to have one sort of product that's the same size, the same make, because it does have an effect on the vehicle now if it's safety, but also its durability, and looking out for cheap imports of tyres, because there are a lot of them out there, and they need to be, make sure that whatever product or whichever manufacturer they decide to use, that the tyre says what it does, because a lot of Chinese imports may not. Not saying they won't, but I'm saying some of them may not. And that's where, working with Bridgestone, and Bridgestone is a manufacturer of tyres, is, our tyres are tried and tested very rigorously. We've got proven data that helps fleet management of their vehicles and obviously the safety of their vehicles. And that's what I'll be saying to fleet companies at this moment. And they can start now. Like Stephen said, why wait? They don't need to wait. We've got the products, we've got them on the shelf. Let's start sticking them on your vehicles.
Simon, what about your points of view? From what would you talk to your van and truck operator today?
Well, definitely agree with Stephen and Michael. There's no need to wait. Technology is here today to be able to be embraced, and I would say if you're looking at technology and looking at camera devices, firstly, not all cameras are equal, and you want to be looking at the first notification of risk data because implementing that will hugely impact the performance of the fleet. And in my space, the insurance space, we know costs are increasing at a rate of knots. It's more expensive today by 20% than having a claim 12 months ago. So working with technology and having a future look on how the technology you adopt today can impact next year, the year after, and the year after that is how I'd be working with Webfleet and the fleets to see how they can improve the safety and sustainability of the fleet. Is act now, not in 3 years' time.
We've had some questions. One for Simon and Stephen. So that one issue that they have is the sensitivity of driver privacy and getting buy-in with this type of technology. How do you overcome that with customers? Simon, do you want to respond first?
Sure, I can take that one. There's many ways that we work in that situation. Firstly, if I talk about the device itself, standard inside lens video solutions which do not have machine vision artificial intelligence are constantly recording, and that would be a privacy concern. With our solution, we specifically designed it for different territories across Europe, and that has meant that we've had to be able to have configurability to meet the different needs of different territories. So as an example, we can keep our machine vision artificial intelligence on, and we can switch off the video. So no video will get transmitted to the cloud, purely machine vision artificial intelligence alerts. Video data can only be recorded for a certain amount of time. Just pictures can be sent up. So first part on privacy, it is completely configurable to meet the needs of the business. And then the second part to the privacy, when we're working and we're doing trials with fleets, you can do half a fleet has the technology on, half the fleet has the technology off. With regards to machine vision artificial intelligence, you can then see the difference that the data has created. You see the behavioral change that has been created, and then drivers can see, wow, look, the performance has improved this much. The vehicles have become safer, and all these wonderful benefits that come out of it. And because of that difference, you then get the buy-in by the business and the drivers that actually video is used for good. We need to get away from crash camera, dash camera, and all that big brother stuff. Yeah, we need to get to video is good. Reward drivers for good behaviour. You know, there's a harsh break because a little kid ran out in front of the road and somebody stopped. Brilliant. You know, that they should be rewarded. Actually, they're on their mobile phone. Then they need to have a conversation about that. So that'd be my take on that. Over to Stephen for his thoughts.
Yeah, I think we can go back to what Denise said before. When we do this technology, it was the same with telematics, and now video is part of that as well. Is we just need to involve the drivers early on in the process. They need to be part of the process and completely understand what is going in that vehicle. The worst case scenario is a driver gets in the vehicle on the Monday morning and some technology has been installed in the vehicle over the weekend and they're not completely aware, and it happens, unfortunately, and that's not going to be a good case study, and the customer isn't going to get the benefits day one out of the system, because the time is going to be spent talking to drivers and reacting to the drivers' concerns instead of using the information and working with the drivers to make the fleet more efficient. I think that's the key from anything from when we first started putting telematics into vehicles 20, 25 years ago to now. It's always involved the drivers through the process. As Simon says, we do a lot of trials, and when we do trials, it's let's pick the drivers, let's make the drivers feel like they've been chosen to be part of this trial, and make them take their feedback on. Their feedback is valuable, because if we don't get their feedback, if we don't use their feedback, the project will not be successful.
I guess it's another example of making sure you've picked the right driver to trial it with in the first place. So yeah. Well, we've got one, I think we're in time for one last question. For any type of tyre products, any of the tyre products that you're reducing weight, reducing carbon content, increasing life, does this automatically reduce grip? And is that not a reduction in safety? So perhaps this is one for Michael.
No, not really, because the way we design our products is we have to take grip into consideration all the time, because it is a safety function of the tyre. So when we do the design a tyre, we look at everything regarding that. It's not a case of let's just look at every sustainability thing we can with that product. Grip is one of the basic things. And when we've done a lot of studies around working with the highways agency as well on fleet tyres that you know, if you've driven down a motorway, you would have seen quite a few on the side of the motorway. We've actually done studies on this, and it's around the inflation of a tyre. Is fleet operators checking the inflation of their tyre? Is it inflated to the correct levels it should be from the manufacturer? So we don't compromise on grip. We ensure there's grip in the tyre. We don't cut corners. Otherwise, we wouldn't put tyres out there that have been tried and tested. So no, we don't compromise on grip.
I didn't think you would do, but it's really good to hear that confirmed. So I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for participating today, to all our delegates, and most importantly to all our panelists. Thank you very much for your time and insights. I hope everyone's found it useful. Just a reminder again to download the handout before you log off. And we will be emailing a link to this morning's session to you again. So if you want to re-listen to some of it again, or perhaps share it with colleagues, please do. If you also have a look in the link, there is more information about the topics if you'd like to hear more. That's in the actual chat side of things. So please follow that link. There is a short request form that we'd ask you to fill in. It's just got the relevant details so we can get back to you. So I think that all that remains now is for me to say cheerio and hope everybody has a safe journey to the kitchen to go and put the kettle on, and you enjoy having a few more moments just before your next meeting probably starts bang on 12 o'clock. And thank you very much for everyone today. Cheerio, bye.